Significant weather developing across eastern Australia, heavy rain continuing through central Queensland, flooding concerns in multiple river systems, and now we're retracking another developing tropical low that could bring more rainfall next week. Let me walk you through what's happening and what you need to know. Right now, across Queensland, conditions vary dramatically. Up at Mount Carbine this morning, 27 degrees at 9:30 with 95% humidity. Rain poured through overnight and it's still coming down steady. Down at Gladstone, 79 millimetres overnight in rain gauges. The Calliope River sitting at moderate flood levels. That serious rain in a short period. Compare that to Brisbane. Cloud cover building, but barely a drop of rain yet. Clouds everywhere, but nothing falling. Frustrating when you're rewatching heavy rainfall 50 kilometres north and south, but missing the city itself. Out at Karkawar in New South Wales, 28 degrees today with good cloud developing, 18-degree minimum, humid conditions and a chance of rain building. This split in conditions tells you everything about the current weather pattern. Moisture streaming in from the Coral Sea, but it's patchy, hit and miss. Some areas copping a drenching while others stay bone dry. Let's look at what's driving all this. The main system is the remnants of ex-tropical cyclone Kochi. Currently tracking northwest of Longreach, heading towards the Gulf of Carpentaria. This system lost its tropical cyclone status days ago, but it is still producing significant rainfall across central Queensland. The Gladstone radar is down right now, which makes monitoring more difficult. We're relying on the Rockhampton radar, which has limitations. But satellite imagery shows intense convective activity. That means heavy thunderstorms streaming into the Rockhampton and Gladstone areas throughout today. Central Queensland has copped an absolute belting. The Mackenzie River at flood level yesterday showed about 4 to 5 metres of water over the road crossing. That is thousands and thousands of litres per second flowing through. Claremont and Emerald saw disastrous flooding. Water levels came within 30 to 40 centimetres of the 1913 flood marker. That piano sits about 10 metres above the creek bed. Think about that. 10 metres of water. The good news is river levels are starting to drop in some areas. The worst appears to be over for Claremont and Emerald. But the road network across central Queensland has been absolutely trashed. The recovery from this will take weeks, potentially months in some areas. However, we are not done yet. Throughout today, steady rain continues along the Capricornia coast. Rockhampton and surrounding areas will see showers and thunderstorms streaming in this morning and into the afternoon. The intensity eases back slightly this evening with a drier period tomorrow morning. Then it returns tomorrow afternoon. That is the pattern for the next couple of days. Morning lulls, afternoon build-ups. Isolated heavy falls remain possible, particularly close to the coastline today and tomorrow. Further inland towards Longreach, Richmond, McKinley and Cloncurry, thunderstorms could produce heavier falls as moisture continues streaming in from the Coral Sea. The rainfall is reducing compared to the peak a couple of days ago. That's the positive. But there is still more to come. Now here is where it gets concerning for northwestern Queensland. The remnant low from Kochi is tracking towards the far northwestern corner of Queensland, expected to arrive there by this weekend. This system will carry significant moisture. Thursday, shower and thunderstorm activity begins building. By Friday and Saturday, isolated heavy falls possible across far northwestern Queensland. If you were in that region with stock on low ground, this is your warning. Get them to higher ground now. River catchments upstream are already saturated in many areas. It won to take much more than 100 millimetres to reignite flooding in the Flinders River and Norman River systems. I understand this is an aggressive forecast. Long-range tropical forecasting is inherently unpredictable, but this is your chance to prepare now rather than react when the rain is already falling. The moisture is coming. The models agree on that. Exactly where the heaviest falls land is still uncertain, but northwestern Queensland is in the firing line. The southern downs of Queensland needs this rain badly. Drought conditions persist there, but the rain that's falling isn't reaching those areas yet. It's all concentrated further north and along the coast. Now let S shift south to New South Wales. A separate low-pressure system is developing in the Tasman Sea. This system tracks close to the New South Wales coast from Thursday through the weekend. The concern is it could stall against the coastline, riding up the East Australian current. If this happens, significant rainfall accumulations are possible along the New South Wales coast. I am not calling this an East Coast low, not yet, but there's potential for decent rainfall totals. The GFS model is particularly keen on this, showing focus on the northeast of New South Wales. The East Australian current is unusually warm right now. That drives convection. That means heavy rain potential. If this low gets itself established and tracks slowly up the coast, areas in northeast New South Wales could see some very significant falls. Model uncertainty remains high. The Access model, the European model, and the GFS all show different solutions. One focuses rainfall in the southeast, another along the Central Coast. The GFS puts the heaviest falls in the northeast. We genuinely don't know which solution will verify, but it's not out of the realm of possibility that one or two locations along the New South Wales coast see 200 to 300 millimetres over the coming week. The question is where? That answer one to be clear for another day or two. Sydney could see a shower or two on Thursday and Friday, but the bulk of the system looks to track further north or south. Either way, coastal areas should monitor this closely. Flash flooding potential exists wherever the heaviest rain sets up. North of Brisbane, the tropical situation remains active but uncertain. Tropical low 14U is currently offshore from New Caledonia. Satellite shows a defined circulation, but it's been ravaged by wind shear overnight. Lost most of its thunderstorm activity. The core is exposed. Not a healthy system right now. As it tracks towards New Caledonia and Vanuatu, there is potential for tropical cyclone development by Friday or Saturday. But this system poses no threat to the Queensland coast. It's heading out into the Tasman Sea graveyard, eventually down towards New Zealand. Looking further ahead, between the 20th and 25th of January, we're re-monitoring the monsoon trough strengthening. This could produce another tropical low in the Coral Sea, possibly even cyclone development. Too early for specifics on track or intensity. Models remain inconsistent. But it is something to watch, particularly if it develops closer to the Queensland coast. The Gulf of Carpentaria looks likely to steal most of the tropical activity over the next 10 days. That translates to good rainfall for the Northern Territory and northwestern Queensland. The northeast Queensland coast might see some rainfall from this, but probably not a major event unless something develops right on the doorstep. Over in Western Australia, a weak tropical low may develop in the next 24 hours well offshore, heading southwest. No threat to the WA coastline, could briefly reach tropical cyclone strength before moving into cooler waters. Similar to systems we've seen offshore recently, by the 20th of January, we're re-monitoring the Kimberley region and possibly the Pilbara for further development. The remnants of Kochi will swing through the Joseph Bonaparte Gulf before moving back into the Northern Territory. Brief window of opportunity for development in the Timor Sea, northeast of the Kimberley coast. Land interaction makes significant development unlikely. But it's worth watching. Impacts to Broome, Port Hedland or Karratha look very unlikely at this stage. All right, let's talk about what this means for you practically. Central Queensland, if you're in areas still dealing with floodwater, the immediate risk is easing. But Don T, let your guard down. Roads are damaged. Some crossings remain cut. Travel only if essential. Check road conditions before heading out. River levels are dropping but remain high in many locations. Northwestern Queensland, you've got a few days to prepare. Stock on low ground needs moving. Check water supplies. Ensure you've got enough fuel and supplies if roads cut again. This isn't a panic talk. It's a sensible preparation based on what the models are showing. Southeast Queensland, if you are waiting for rain, this weekend brings a chance. Severe thunderstorm potential develops across the region. Not the widespread soaking rain some areas need, but hit and miss storms. Some places could cop decent falls. Others might miss out entirely. New South Wales coastal areas, keep an eye on that developing low. If it tracks close and slows down, rainfall could be significant. Have your emergency kit ready. Know your flood risk. Don T, drive through floodwater. If it flooded, forget it. That old SES message never gets old because people keep ignoring it. For those watching from other states, this is primarily an eastern seaboard story over the next week. But patterns are shifting. Western Australia might see some action by late next week. South Australia and Victoria look relatively settled in the short term. One final point about the drought conditions on the Southern Downs. Rain that falling isn't making it there yet. The moisture is streaming in from the north and east, hitting the coast and ranges, but not penetrating far enough west. That's frustrating when you're rewatching flood reports from areas a few hundred kilometres away while your own paddocks stay dry. Weather patterns like this are fickle. Sometimes they shift, sometimes they don't. The current pattern favours coastal and far northern areas. Whether that changes over the next fortnight depends on how these tropical systems develop and where the monsoon trough sets up. Bottom line, Eastern Australia faces an active weather period. Central Queensland is recovering from significant flooding, but more rain threatens northwestern areas. New South Wales coastal areas could see heavy rain later this week into the weekend. Tropical activity remains elevated with multiple systems to monitor. Stay across the latest from the Bureau of Meteorology. They'll have the most up-to-date warnings and forecasts as these systems develop. Local SES Facebook pages are good for real-time information on road closures and flood conditions. Check on your mates, particularly those in remote areas or dealing with floodwater. Make sure elderly neighbours are prepared if severe weather hits your area. That's the situation as it stands this Tuesday, the 13th of January. Complex weather pattern with multiple systems developing. Keep an eye on forecasts over the next few days. Things will become clearer as these systems evolve.